Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Project Mouse. In this episode, I'll finish adding detail to the turret and get it into primer. In the last episode, you'll have seen how I took the 3D printed parts for the mouse turret, made cold cure silicon moulds, and cast the parts in pewter. This all went according to plan, until in my quest to find out as much about the mouse as I could, I bought the Panzer Tracts book by Hilary Doyle. These much more accurate and detailed drawings not only clarified many aspects of the mouse, but flagged up a number of errors in the parts I'd just 3D printed and cast. I now had to work out whether I could salvage the parts or had to start again. I've recently joined my local model club, the North Devon Model Society, and met some incredibly talented modellers. When Bob, one of the members, mentioned he had a Tech-On mouse, I jumped at the chance to inspect it. Seeing a model in the flesh helped tremendously and cleared up so many issues I had with Project Mouse. You can see more of Bob's tank builds on his Facebook page, the AFV Factory, or follow him on Instagram at Bob's Scale Armour. So, newly inspired and with a slightly clearer plan, I decided to get stuck in and sort the parts out. I started with the mantlet. This was a part which I knew needed a lot of work and had been hard to pin down. My original part was 3D printed in ABS. After correcting the overall dimensions with my monster file, I added Milliput to correct the profiles. Then came the stage I wasn't looking forward to, the facets. This was particularly difficult, but all of a sudden it just clicked and finally made sense. To make the bolts for the mantlet, I bought some hexagonal brass rod and turned down the ends to the correct profile in my pillar drill and Dremel. I don't have a lathe. I wanted to get some texture on the mantlet and stippled on some Mr. Surfacer. Lines were also scratched on with some 60 grit sandpaper. So, with the mantlet finished, I turned my attention back to the turret and the cast parts. I drilled out holes and added brass rods to simulate the ends of the tapered bolts in the turret roof. Fortunately, the castings were dimensionally accurate, and it was just a matter of correcting profiles here and there. I guess I got lucky this time. The pewter plugs for the lifting eyes were reshaped and fitted first. Then it was on to the remaining parts. The distinctive conical periscope was particularly important to get right. The two ventilators in the turret roof had given me a lot of trouble, and needed the most work to reprofile. The main hatches fitted well. On the real mouse, they raise up and rotate via a hinge at the back to open. The gunner's periscope, pistol port and loader's hatch all fitted neatly into place. The aerial deflector was profiled and pinned to the barrel. The two braces were made from off-cut strips of brass. So, with all the parts assembled, it was now time to get the turret into primer. I decided to go for a red oxide rattle can primer, as it closely represented what was used on the actual mouse. At this stage I was really keen just to see how well the texturing had worked out. There were a few techniques I'd used for texturing, but the mottled finish on the turret had hidden the effect from me, and I hoped it was going to be alright. The contrast of the smooth barrel and cast mantlet immediately gave me hope as the primer hit it. I'd pre-washed the parts in soapy water to remove any grease and then dried them thoroughly to give the primer the best chance of adhesion. And then it was on to the main event, the turret hull itself. I tried to spray it in thin coats, but this is never straightforward with a rattle can. I used Halford's red primer, which I found has good adhesion and sprays well with very few runs. With the underside sprayed, I was now confident to flip it over and prime the top. This was so rewarding, seeing the texturing come to life as everything finally got an even coat of colour. It was an easy part to spray. Being slab-sided, the primer went on fairly evenly. I'm now looking forward to the day when I spray the camo, but that'll be a way off yet, as I have the rest of the mouse to make first. Let's take a look at the turret with the primer dried. Getting the character right for any model can be difficult. It is so important to understand the subject, in particular what it's made of and how it's made. The mantlet was cast and heavily textured. This contrasts with the barrels, which are relatively smooth. Hatches, vents and sights were also cast, but had minimal texture. The mouse was made of slabs of armour with massive welds. The armour was never smooth. Just visit any tank museum and take a close look. These textures add so much to what would otherwise be a relatively plain subject. It could be so easy to add too much texture, but for my first attempt, I'm very happy with the result. Here are some close-up photos, just to show things a little clearer. I hope you like them. So, with the turret primed and ready for paint, I can now move on to the next stage of Project Mouse, the lower hull, but that'll have to wait till the next episode. I hope you enjoy watching Project Mouse. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel to see more Staples and Vine projects. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.